In the sacred lands of Mecca, a divine revelation descended upon the messenger of Allah. Before Surah Yaseen was unveiled, the arrogant disbelievers hurled their cruel mockery at the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They challenged him with scornful voices, demanding impossible feats. "Show us how these decayed bones will return to life," they taunted. "This cannot be done. You are a deceiver. You possess no divine knowledge." In response to their endless derision, Allah revealed verses of miraculous truth. The Almighty proclaimed, "Say to them, the one who first created these bones will certainly restore them to life. He is perfectly aware of every form of creation." These powerful words became the foundation of Surah Yaseen, a surah that would transform hearts and minds throughout the ages. When the command for Hijrah came to the Prophet, the disbelievers positioned themselves at his doorway, plotting his capture and harm. In that moment of danger, the messenger recited the magnificent verses of Surah Yaseen, and a miracle unfolded before their eyes. The Prophet walked through their midst as if invisible, and they could not perceive him. They stood bewildered and confused, unable to comprehend what had transpired. The pathway became empty, the Prophet was gone, and their eyes had failed them entirely. Yet there exists another profound narrative within this sacred chapter. In the ancient dusty streets of Antioch, a solitary figure ran desperately through the crowds, pursued by an enraged mob intent on silencing him. This courageous believer understood that his words could cost him his very life, yet his conviction burned brighter than his fear of death. He stood firm in defending the unity of Allah. He proclaimed with unwavering conviction, "I have embraced the faith in the same Lord that these messengers believe in. O my people, follow these messengers who ask nothing from you in return. They seek no reward. Follow those who desire only guidance for you." Udestur, the revelation of Surah Yaseen. Surah Yaseen, revered as the heart of the Quran by Islamic scholars throughout history, descended upon the Prophet Muhammad in the city of Mecca. The Quraysh tribe, among whom the Prophet lived, rejected his message with complete stubbornness. They refused to accept the reality of life after death, and their hearts grew harder with each passing day. Doubts and questions consumed their minds, filling them with confusion and spiritual emptiness. It was during this period of darkness and denial that Allah sent down Surah Yaseen as a mercy to humanity. This divine revelation came to soften hardened hearts, to illuminate the path of truth, and to unveil the hidden realities of life and death. The surah contains 83 verses, each one a beacon of guidance for those willing to listen. The surah derives its name from the Arabic letters Ya and Seen, which appear as the opening of its first verse. These letters stand as a call to attention, inviting the readers and listeners to awaken their consciousness and prepare their hearts to receive the divine message. Within Surah Yaseen, the central themes unfold with remarkable clarity. The surah addresses the fundamental moral responsibilities that Allah has placed upon humanity. It discusses revelation and the prophets sent by Allah to guide His creation. It presents the powerful story of the messenger sent to the city of Antioch, whose people rejected him and his companions. The surah elaborates extensively on the signs of Allah's divine unity and boundless power. Above all, it emphasizes the certainty of resurrection, the coming of the day of judgment, and the consequences that await both the righteous and the wrongdoers. Throughout Islamic history, Muslim scholars have composed detailed commentaries on Surah Yaseen, recognizing its exceptional importance. The Prophet Muhammad himself gave this surah special honor, and the Muslim community has always held it in the highest regard. Due to this significance, numerous works of Tafseer have been written to explain its depths and meanings for each generation of believers. The opening verses, the declaration of truth. Allah opens the surah with the letters Yaseen, Many scholars interpret these letters as a call to attention, similar to saying, "Listen carefully" or "Pay close attention to what follows." Other scholars explain that Allah addresses the Prophet Muhammad with these letters, calling him by the honorable title, "O Human" or "O Noble One." Following this opening, Allah continues, "By the Quran, full of wisdom, you are truly among the messengers sent by Allah. You stand upon a straight path, guided by revelation from the Mighty One, the ever-merciful." Through this divine oath, Allah emphasizes the absolute certainty of what He is about to communicate. When Allah swears by something, He is highlighting its supreme importance and the undeniable truth of what follows. Here, Allah swears by the Quran itself, the very revelation He has sent down. He affirms that Prophet Muhammad is not speaking from his own imagination or desire, but rather he is a true messenger chosen by Allah. The path he brings is the only correct path, the only way that leads to success and eternal salvation. A profound question naturally arises. Why would the Creator of all existence need to swear an oath? How could such a thing be fitting for the Almighty? The answer lies in understanding the nature of divine communication. When humans communicate with one another, they adjust their language and style according to their audience. A parent speaking to a small child uses different words and expressions than when speaking with an adult. This adjustment in communication does not diminish the parent's position. Rather, it reflects wisdom and compassion in how one shares knowledge. Similarly, Allah communicates with humanity in a manner befitting human nature and human understanding. Oaths and sworn statements are part of human language and human culture. When Allah uses these expressions, He is not lowering Himself to the human level. Rather, He is bridging the gap of understanding between the finite human mind and the infinite divine knowledge. Allah's oath is a means of establishing absolute certainty in the hearts of believers, showing them that the message He brings is completely trustworthy and certain to come to pass. Allah continues, "This Quran is a revelation sent down to you by the one who possesses all power and infinite mercy. Your mission is to warn a people whose ancestors were never reached by a messenger before them. They live in a state of heedlessness, unaware of the truths that could save their souls." The purpose of the Quran is crystal clear. It serves as a warner to those who live in forgetfulness and negligence, cut off from divine guidance. The people of Mecca had not seen a prophet among them for a long period. This extended separation from direct revelation had caused them to drift further and further from the remembrance of Allah. The message brought by Muhammad would reach them first, and then, through his teachings, it would eventually encompass all of humanity. The reality of hardened hearts. In the following verses, Allah describes a frightening truth about the human condition. Those who persistently choose evil through their own free will eventually find that their hearts become sealed to truth itself. Allah says, "We have placed chains of iron around the necks of those who reject the truth, and these chains reach up to their chins. Because of this, their heads are held high in arrogance. We have erected a wall before them and another wall behind them. We have covered them completely, so they are unable to perceive the truth that surrounds them." These verses employ powerful metaphorical language to describe the spiritual state of the deniers. Their stubborn rejection of truth acts like heavy iron collars around their necks, forcing their heads upward, preventing them from looking down at the evidence of Allah's guidance. Their arrogance and pride become their chains. The barriers that surround them are not physical walls, but rather the barriers they have constructed with their own choices. The barrier of bias in front of them, and the barrier of attachment to worldly desires behind them. In front stands their fear of the future and their denial of the day of judgment. Behind them stands their love for this temporary world and their unwillingness to sacrifice immediate pleasures for eternal reward. These walls are completely real, even though no eye can see them. Allah continues with profound wisdom. Whether you warn them or you do not warn them matters not to all of them. Only those who listen to the reminder with sincere hearts will benefit from your warning. Only those who fear Allah, even though they have never seen Him with their eyes, will truly understand. This verse establishes an essential principle. Divine guidance reaches everyone, but it benefits only those who are prepared to receive it. The Prophet's message is universal, but its transformative power touches only those hearts that are alive with consciousness and awareness. Those who have severed their connection to their Lord through stubbornness will not benefit, no matter how clear the message becomes. But to those whose hearts remain pure and whose intentions remain sound, Allah promises, give them glad tidings of forgiveness and pardon from Allah. Announce to them a reward of the highest honor. In paradise, they will be granted every blessing they desire and every good they could ever hope for. The recording of all deeds. Allah then addresses a profound reality. Certainly we record everything. We preserve every action and every trace that humans leave behind in a clear and detailed record. The Imam Mubin, the Manifest Book. Resurrection after death is not merely a possibility to be debated. It is a certainty established by Allah Himself. But this verse contains a deeper meaning worth contemplating. When it says, the traces they leave behind, it refers to the lasting impact of a person's life. A human dies, but the effects of their deeds continue to ripple through time. A person who writes a beneficial book leaves behind knowledge that will continue to guide others for centuries or even millennia after they have passed away. A parent who raises their children with Islamic values leaves behind descendants who carry the light of truth. Someone who plants trees leaves behind shade and fruit for future generations. A person who establishes a charity or foundation creates a legacy of goodness that continues working in the world long after they have departed from it. Similarly, one who spreads falsehood, corruption, or harmful innovations leaves behind traces of that corruption that may persist and cause harm for generations. All of these deeds, all of these traces are recorded in the Imam Mubin, the clear record. On the day of judgment, a person will not be judged only for the years they lived, but for the lasting impact of all their actions. The story of the three messengers. The narrative then shifts to a historical account that carries lessons for all times. In the following verses, Allah tells the story of a city where He sent messengers to guide the people. Many Islamic scholars, through examination of historical sources and textual analysis, identify this city as Antioch, a major center of the ancient world. Out of His infinite mercy, Allah did not send just one messenger to this people. When they rejected the first messenger, Allah strengthened the believers among them by sending a second. When they continued in their rejection, Allah showed them further mercy by sending a third messenger to confirm the message and warn them with greater emphasis. This succession demonstrates Allah's tremendous compassion. He does not punish hastily. Instead, He gives repeated chances and sends multiple witnesses so that no one will have any excuse on the day of judgment. The people of this city, however, responded to these messengers with arrogance and mockery. They said, "You are merely humans like ourselves. You eat food to survive, just as we do. You sleep and rest, just as we do. How can you possibly be messengers from the divine? If Allah truly wanted to guide us, He would not send humans. He would send angels or perform visible miracles that we cannot deny." The messengers replied with patience and wisdom, "We are indeed human beings, but being human does not make our message any less true. Our role is not to force belief upon you or to compel your obedience. Our duty is only to deliver the message that Allah has entrusted to us. We have fulfilled that duty. What you do with this message is your own choice and your own responsibility before Allah." The people then took a different approach. They blamed the messengers for the hardships befalling their city. They said, "Ever since you arrived, our city has suffered from famine and drought. Our livestock have become weak and sickly. You bring nothing but calamity and misfortune." The messengers responded with strength and clarity. "The misfortunes that have befallen you are not due to our presence. They are the natural consequence of your rejection of Allah's message. When a people turn away from their Lord, they cut themselves off from His blessings and His protection. The hardships you face are a result of your own choices. We have come to show you the way to prosperity and success. We ask you to return to the worship of Allah alone and to abandon the false gods you have created. That is the only path that will truly save you." The brave believer of Antioch. As the confrontation continued, a remarkable figure suddenly appeared on the scene. From the far edges of the city, far from the center of power and authority, a courageous believer came running toward the messengers and those who had believed with them. His arrival is significant. It shows that faith is not confined to those in positions of power or those who live in the centers of cities. Truth finds its way to the hearts of ordinary people, often to those whom the world considers insignificant. This believer's argument was both simple and devastatingly logical. He said, "O my people, follow these messengers. Do you not see that they ask you for no payment? They seek no wealth from you, no power, no influence. They desire nothing for themselves. If they were lying to you, would they persist in their message, knowing that this lie would cost them their lives? No one would suffer and endure hardship for a lie that brings them no benefit whatsoever." He continued with even greater passion. "Why should I not believe in the one who created me? Why should I not worship the Lord of all worlds? Should I worship false gods besides Him, gods who cannot create anything, who cannot provide for me, who cannot protect me or harm me? This makes no sense." This believer then addressed the deeper issue of Tawheed, the oneness of Allah. "It is He who sustains me, who provides me with food and drink, who keeps me alive. I trust in Him completely. Even if you harm me, even if you kill me, that harm will come only by the permission of Allah. I accept whatever Allah decrees with patience and faith. My Lord is the one who is most merciful, and I am confident that He will not leave me to suffer eternally." His words brought to mind the example of Prophet Ibrahim, who was thrown into the fire for his faith, but remained steadfast, saying to the fire, "You have no power over me. My Lord is enough for me." This believer demonstrated the same level of conviction and surrender. His faith was not dependent on avoiding hardship. Rather, he accepted that faith might bring trials and tribulations, and he was willing to face them all for the sake of truth. The people of the city, enraged by his words, attacked him viciously. In their anger and fear of his influence on others, they killed him. At that moment, when the believers thought they had silenced the voice of truth through violence, something miraculous happened. The believer entered the presence of his Lord. Allah tells us what transpired at that moment. It was said to him, "Enter paradise." He replied, "I wish that my people knew what has happened to me. They would see how my Lord has forgiven me and honored me." Even as this believer stood in the presence of the Lord, enjoying the bliss of paradise, his heart remained soft and compassionate toward his people. He did not feel anger or a desire for revenge. He did not gloat over their fate. Instead, his foremost wish was that they would know the truth and receive the same mercy and honor that he had been granted. This is the mark of true faith. A believer's concern extends even to those who harmed them. Their deepest wish is not for justice against their enemies, but for their enemies to receive guidance and mercy. This is the character that the Quran cultivates in the hearts of the sincere believers. The sudden destruction. The narrative then takes a dramatic turn. Allah describes what happened to those who persisted in their rejection and mockery. We did not need to send an army of soldiers against them from the sky. We did not require multiple plagues or extended punishments. A single terrifying sound descended upon them, one mighty blast, and in an instant all of them were extinguished from existence. The verse continues with a note of profound sorrow. How tragic are the circumstances of these servants. Whenever a messenger came to them with truth, they only mocked him. They ridiculed his message. They made fun of his appearance and his mission, and in the end, mockery became their undoing. This people who felt so strong, so secure in their power and numbers, were shown in a moment how utterly fragile and insignificant they were before the might of Allah. They had built their lives on arrogance and rejection, and it all came crashing down in an instant. One sound, one vibration, one blast, and they were gone. The verse also contains a profound scientific reality. At the time this was revealed 14 centuries ago, there was no scientific knowledge of sound waves or vibrations that could destroy matter. Yet here, the Quran describes a single powerful sound that could annihilate an entire people. Only with modern science have we come to understand that sound waves of sufficient intensity can shatter objects, damage structures, and harm living beings. The Creator revealed this scientific reality through his final revelation, centuries before humanity would develop the instruments to measure and verify it. The certainty of the final judgment. Allah continues the narrative, and on the day of judgment, all of these people will be gathered before us. We will assemble them, and they will stand in fear and anticipation of our judgment. Though they were destroyed in this world, their accounting does not end there. The punishment of the grave is but a prelude to the greater reckoning that awaits all people. Every person will stand before Allah to give account of their deeds. The destruction they suffered in this life was a sign of what awaits them in the eternal life to come. But even before the final day, in the grave itself, they will experience the beginning of punishment for their rejection and mockery of the truth. The signs of Allah's power in creation. To convince those who deny the afterlife of its reality, Allah presents evidence from the natural world. He says, "Look at the land. When we send rain upon it, it becomes green and fertile. The dead earth comes alive, producing vegetation and fruits. Do you not see in this a clear sign? This same earth, which appears lifeless and barren in winter, comes alive each spring. In the same way, the bodies of humans, which appear lifeless in death, will come alive again when Allah commands their resurrection." But this verse contains an even deeper layer of meaning. The creation of fruits is not an accident or a random occurrence. Rather, it is the result of a perfect coordination between Allah's infinite power and human effort. Allah has placed the potential for growth within the seed and the soil. He sends the rain and the sunshine, but the farmer must also work. He must prepare the land, plant the seed, remove the weeds, and provide care. Sustenance, or risk in the language of the Quran, comes from Allah, but the effort required to obtain it comes from us. This is the balance between divine providence and human responsibility. A person who understands this balance will not sit idle waiting for Allah to provide, nor will they foolishly believe that their effort alone can provide for them without Allah's blessing. They will work diligently while placing their complete trust in Allah. Beyond the pairs in creation, Allah then draws attention to another miraculous aspect of His creation. Glory be to the One who created all things in pairs, pairs from what the earth produces, pairs among yourselves, and pairs from the things of which you have no knowledge. This verse points to an astonishing scientific reality that was hidden from human knowledge until very recently. Everything in creation, from the largest to the smallest, exists in pairs or dualities. Among living creatures, there are males and females. Among plants, there are separate male and female organs or structures. The earth produces pairs. When you examine any plant or animal closely, you find this pattern of duality. The second category mentioned, pairs among yourselves, refers to the fact that humans exist as male and female. The genders are different yet complementary, designed to work together to continue the human race. But the third category is most extraordinary, pairs from things of which you have no knowledge. This statement was made 14 centuries ago, yet it describes scientific discoveries made only in the modern era. Scientists have discovered that the universe is built on fundamental pairs and dualities. Electricity exists in positive and negative charges. Magnetism exists in north and south poles. Atomic forces include the strong force and the weak force. Matter exists in normal form and in antimatter. Every particle has an antiparticle. Photons carry both wave and particle properties. Time appears to have a relationship with space. Energy and mass exist in complementary forms, according to Einstein's famous equation. At the quantum level, particles exist in superposition in a kind of dual state until they are observed. The very structure of DNA, the blueprint of all life, is built on complementary pairs. Adenine pairs with thymine, guanine pairs with cytosine. When the Quran states that there are pairs from things of which you have no knowledge, it is describing a reality of creation that was completely unknown to the people of that time. Only Allah, who created all these dualities, could have made such a statement. This is among the most remarkable examples of scientific accuracy in the Quran. The verse concludes by asking, "Will you not give thanks? Will you not recognize that these signs point to a Creator whose power is supreme and whose knowledge is perfect?" The oneness of Allah through His creation. Allah continues, "The Creator of all these pairs, the one who brought them all into existence with such perfect coordination and design, is surely one. He has no partners. He is not divided. He is completely unique in His power and knowledge. Surely, He is fully capable of bringing the dead back to life. This is a trivial matter for the one who created the universe and continues to sustain it. If someone can create the heavens and the earth with all their complexity and vastness, then resurrecting the dead is an easy task by comparison. Yet many people find it hard to believe in resurrection. They look at the decay of a body and say, "How could this possibly return to life?" But they do not reflect on the greater miracle that Allah has already performed in bringing them into existence from nothing. The miracle of night and day. Allah then asks people to consider the signs that surround them every day. Observe the night as a clear sign for these people. We withdraw the light from the night, removing the daylight, and darkness suddenly blankets the earth. And the sun, it runs along its fixed path in accordance with Allah's measure. This is the plan of the one who is all-powerful and all-knowing. The earth's relationship to the sun is a perfect harmony established by Allah. The earth is not a fixed ball, suspended in space with light and darkness randomly applied to different parts. Rather, the earth rotates on its axis, turning like a dancer pirouetting on one foot. One side faces the sun and receives light, while the opposite side is turned away and experiences darkness. As the earth spins, the boundary between light and darkness moves around the planet, creating the experience of sunrise and sunset. In some places, day gradually transforms into night as the sun descends toward the horizon. In other places, particularly near the poles, the transition can be more abrupt, but the fundamental principle remains. It is the Earth's rotation that creates the cycle of day and night. Many ancient peoples did not understand this. They believed that the sun moved across the sky above a stationary Earth. But the Quran, in its eloquent language, describes the reality. The daylight is withdrawn, darkness comes and the sun travels in its appointed path. All of this speaks to the wisdom and power of Allah. The very fact that this cycle continues without interruption, without the sun colliding with the earth, without darkness consuming the light permanently, speaks to the existence of a creator whose knowledge and power have no limits. If Allah had not established this precise order, life on earth would be impossible. Countless conditions had to be exactly right for life to exist and flourish. The distance between the earth and sun, the tilt of the earth's axis, the speed of the earth's rotation, all of these factors work together perfectly to create the conditions necessary for life. Any variation would be catastrophic. If the earth were slightly closer to the sun, we would burn. If we were slightly farther away, we would freeze. If the earth spun faster, the winds would be too violent. If it spun slower, day and night would be too extreme. Yet all of these factors are precisely calibrated. This is not chance. This is design. This is the handiwork of the all-knowing Creator. The sun, a sign of infinite power. Moving to the next sign, Allah says, "Look at the sun. Our Lord, whose power has no bounds and whose knowledge encompasses all things, has set the sun on its ordained course. It will continue on this path until a time decreed by Him." Modern science has revealed the absolute magnificence of the sun, and this magnificence serves as a constant reminder of Allah's unlimited power. The sun is a massive sphere of plasma and nuclear fusion with a diameter of approximately 1,390,000 kilometers. In comparison, the Earth is so tiny that it would be invisible if viewed alongside the sun from a distance. The distance from Earth to the sun is about 150 million kilometers, a measurement so vast that light traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to reach us from the sun. This distance is not arbitrary. It is perfectly calibrated to support life. It is known as the habitable zone or the Goldilocks zone. Not too close, not too far, but just right. The sun has existed for approximately 4.6 billion years, and we can estimate that it has perhaps another 5 billion years before it exhausts its fuel and enters its final stages. Each second, the sun fuses about 564 million tons of hydrogen into 560 million tons of helium. The 4 million ton difference becomes pure energy, according to Einstein's famous equation E equals mc2. This energy radiates outward in all directions, carrying light and heat to the entire solar system. To conceptualize this power, the sun releases approximately 386 billion megawatts of energy every second. In a single second, it produces more energy than humanity has used since the beginning of civilization. Yet this awesome power is harnessed in perfect balance. The sun's output is stable enough to sustain life, yet powerful enough to sustain solar fusion for billions of years. Consider that the sun is just one star among nearly 200 billion stars in our galaxy alone, and our Milky Way galaxy is just one among an estimated 200 billion galaxies visible to our most powerful telescopes. The Creator, who established the sun in its orbit and set it burning with incomprehensible power, is the one who created this entire cosmic structure. How can anyone doubt His ability to resurrect the dead? The moon, a sign of divine precision. Allah continues, "Among the signs we have set for people is the moon. We have ordained for it phases as it journeys through the heavens, gradually transforming from a thin crescent to a full, brilliant disk, and then returning to a thin crescent again, like an aged date palm frond that has dried and curled. The moon is the Earth's only natural satellite, and its role in making life possible on Earth is profound. The moon is responsible for the tides, the cyclical rising and falling of the oceans. These tides have an enormous impact on marine ecosystems and coastal regions. The moon also stabilizes the Earth's axial tilt, which maintains a relatively stable climate. Without the moon, the Earth's axial tilt would vary wildly, creating extreme climate fluctuations that would make the development of complex life nearly impossible. The moon's phases result from its position relative to the sun and Earth. As it orbits the Earth, different amounts of its illuminated surface become visible to us. When the moon is between the Earth and sun, we see a new moon, essentially invisible, because the illuminated side faces away from us. As the moon continues its orbit, more of its illuminated side becomes visible, resulting in the waxing crescent, first quarter, waxing gibbous, and full moon. Then, it reverses the process, becoming the waning gibbous, last quarter waning crescent, and finally the new moon again. This cycle repeats with remarkable precision every 29.5 days, a rhythm that humans have used for thousands of years to track time. The Islamic calendar is based on the lunar cycle, with months beginning at the sighting of the new moon. The Quran describes the old moon as being like a dried date palm frond, curved, thin and pale. This is a vivid and accurate description of the crescent moon near the end of its cycle. The precision of this description, the acknowledgement of the moon's role in marking time, and the recognition that the sun and moon do not interfere with each other's orbits, all point to a creator whose planning and foresight are beyond human comprehension. Despite billions of years of motion, despite the fact that the sun and moon have been moving through space continuously, they have never collided, and night has never permanently overtaken day. They move in their separate orbits with perfect precision. As Allah states, the sun does not overtake the moon, nor does the night precede the day. Each one swims in its own orbit. The blessing of transportation. Allah then reminds people of another great blessing. Among the signs for them is that we carry their offspring, their children, their seed, in fully laden ships that float safely upon the waters. And if we wished, we could cause them to drown, and there would be no one to rescue them, no one to help them. Yet they are saved only by a mercy from us, and only for an appointed term. This verse carries multiple layers of meaning. On one level, it refers to the actual ships that carry people across waters. The ability of a ship to float is a miraculous thing when you truly contemplate it. Water, a liquid substance, is somehow able to support the weight of enormous wooden or metal vessels. The principle of buoyancy, discovered by Archimedes, explains this through the displacement of water. But the principle itself is established by Allah. Ships are a necessity for trade and travel, connecting distant civilizations and allowing the exchange of goods and knowledge. Without ships, human development would have been severely limited, but their offspring in fully laden ships can also be understood metaphorically. It refers to how Allah carries the seed of life itself in the bodies of parents. The child is carried safely in the mother's womb for 9 months, protected and nourished. Just as a heavily loaded ship floats safely on water by Allah's design, so too does the developing child float safely in the amniotic fluid of the womb. The verse also extends to other means of transportation. In the time of the Prophet, ships were the primary long-distance transport. Today, we have airplanes that defy gravity and fly through the air, trains that carry thousands, and vehicles of countless varieties. All of these are gifts from Allah, and all of them are contingent on His will. If He wished, a slight shift in the laws of physics would cause them all to fail. We are sustained by Allah's mercy and His continued preservation of the natural laws that govern our world. The rejection of divine command. Allah then describes those who reject guidance. When they are told, "Protect yourselves through righteousness so that you may be worthy of mercy and achieve success," they turn away. When a verse from their Lord comes to them, one that should transform their hearts and minds, they do not listen. They refuse to respond. The natural human tendency when facing clear truth is to either accept it and change, or to reject it and defend one's current beliefs. Those who reject do so not because they lack evidence, but because accepting the truth would require them to change their lives. Pride and attachment to familiar ways keep them bound in their rejection, and breed the misuse of destiny as an excuse. The narrative continues when they are told, "Give from the provisions Allah has granted you to those in need." The disbelievers turn to the believers and say, "Should we feed those who, if Allah desired, He would feed Himself? You are clearly in error. You make no sense." This is a rationalization that has been used throughout history to justify the refusal to help the poor and needy. The disbelievers argue that if the poor suffer hunger, it must be because Allah wills it. Therefore, to feed them would be to go against Allah's will. This argument is profoundly flawed. Allah tests the rich with the blessing of wealth, just as He tests the poor with the trial of poverty. The rich are commanded to give to the poor, and through this giving, they purify their souls and their wealth. The poor are commanded to be patient and to trust in Allah, while struggling to improve their circumstances. Both are being refined through their trials. Furthermore, the argument shows a fundamental misunderstanding of divine will and human responsibility. Allah's will operates through secondary causes. When we give charity, we are instruments of Allah's will. When we feed the hungry, we are doing so because Allah has given us the ability and the command to do so. To refuse to give while claiming that Allah should feed the poor directly is to misuse the concept of destiny. It was reported that when this verse was revealed, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, the devoted companion of the Prophet, was in the habit of feeding and caring for poor Muslims. One day, Abu Jahl, one of the Prophet's bitter enemies, encountered him and mocked him, saying, "You claim that Allah feeds these poor people. Then why does He not feed them Himself? Why do you need to feed them?" Abu Bakr replied with wisdom, "Allah tests some of us with poverty and others with wealth. He commands the poor to be patient and the rich to give. When I feed the poor, I am obeying Allah's command. I am not replacing Allah's provision. I am being the means through which Allah's provision reaches them." Abu Jahl said mockingly, "No, by Allah, Abu Bakr, you are confused. It is you who are feeding them, not Allah." After this exchange, Allah revealed verses making clear that whoever practices restraint believes in truth and does good deeds will be guided to the best path, the path to paradise. This is recorded in the Tafseer of Al-Qurtubi. The sudden coming of the hour. The verses then address the mockers' constant demand for proof. They say, "If what you say is true, then when will this promised punishment come? When will the day of judgment arrive? When will we be punished as you claim?" Allah responds, "They are waiting for nothing but a single terrible sound, a great blast that will strike them while they are in the midst of their disputes and disagreements. In that moment, they will have no chance to make a will, nor will they be able to return to their families. The day of judgment will arrive with sudden finality. People will be occupied with their daily routines, some buying and selling in the marketplace, some arguing about business, some eating, some sleeping, when suddenly the trumpet will sound. In that instant, the laws of physics as we know them will cease, the earth will shake, the stars will scatter, the mountains will crumble, and everyone will be brought before Allah for judgment." The Prophet Muhammad described this with vivid imagery. He said, "Two merchants will be bargaining over cloth in the marketplace when suddenly the hour comes. Neither of them will have time to fold the cloth. A man will be tending to his well, pouring water for his animals, when the hour comes before he can finish. A woman will be combing her hair when the hour arrives. A man will be about to take a bite of food to his mouth when the hour comes. There will be no time for final preparations. No time to say goodbye to family, no time to settle affairs." This description is not meant to terrify, but to awaken. It emphasizes the reality that this life is temporary and can end at any moment. Each person should live as though they could meet their Lord at any instant. The resurrection and the assembly. Allah continues, "At the sound of the trumpet, they will spring forth from their graves in haste, scrambling toward their Lord. They will cry out, 'Woe to us! Who has brought us from our rest? Who has awakened us from our sleep?' This is what the Most Merciful warned us about. The messengers were telling the truth. The experience of death can be compared to sleep. When a person dies, consciousness departs, and time seems to pass in an instant from their perspective. When they awaken in the grave for the first questioning and later for the resurrection, it will seem as though only moments have passed, yet centuries may have gone by in the world above. Ali ibn Abi Talib explained this beautifully. People are asleep, and when they die, they awaken. Compared to the reality of the afterlife, this world is like a fleeting dream. The illusions we chase, the false goals we pursue, the false sense of security we maintain, all of it will be stripped away. The truth will be laid bare. The resurrection is described in the Quran in another place. On the day when the trumpet will be blown, whoever is in the heavens and whoever is on the earth will be struck with terror except those whom Allah wills. Then it will be blown again, and they will stand up looking around them. At the first sound of the trumpet, all living souls are overwhelmed and lose consciousness. Death comes instantly for those still alive, and the entire cosmic order begins to dissolve. At the second sound, all the dead rise and stand awaiting their judgment. The self-testimony of the limbs. As the verses progress, we encounter one of the most profound scenes. On that day, we will seal their mouths. Their hands will speak to us, and their feet will testify against them concerning everything they used to do. When the wrongdoers stand before Allah, desperately trying to construct an excuse or deny their sins, Allah will silence them. Their mouths will be sealed shut, but their own bodies will betray them. Their hands will speak, telling what they used to hold and grasp. Their feet will testify, describing where they used to walk and what deeds they used to commit. In another surah, Allah provides more detail about this scene. The day they are cast into the fire, they will say to their skins, "Why did you testify against us?" Their skins will reply, "Allah has granted speech to all things, and He created you the first time, and to Him you will return. You did not try to hide from your ears, your eyes, and your skins. Rather, you thought that Allah did not know much of what you were doing." This is an astonishing moment. The person expected their skins not to bear witness against them, but Allah makes all the creation speak. The very parts of the body that were used in sin will be witnesses against sin. A companion named Anas ibn Malik reported that the Messenger of Allah smiled one day and was asked why. He replied, "I was thinking of how a servant will speak to his Lord on the day of judgment. He will say, 'O my Lord, did you not protect me from injustice?' Allah will say, 'Yes, I did.' The servant will say, 'Then I do not accept any witness against myself except myself.' Allah will say, 'You are sufficient as a witness against yourself today.' And the honored noble scribes, the angels who record our deeds, will also testify against him. Then Allah will seal his mouth, and his limbs will be told to speak. His legs and arms will recount what he did, even as he wishes for them to be silent. After all this, he will be given a chance to speak, and he will say to his limbs, 'Woe to you! I was trying to defend myself, and you are speaking against me.' The realization that one's own body will witness against oneself is a humbling and terrifying prospect. This emphasizes the accountability and justice of the Day of Judgment, the power to change and the test of this life. Allah then reminds us, if we wished, we could surely blind their eyes, depriving them of sight. Then they would stumble on the path, unable to see where they are going. Or if we wished, we could transform their shapes, freezing them in place. Then they would be unable to move forward or turn back. This verse emphasizes that Allah possesses unlimited power. He could easily force belief upon all humanity. He could remove their free will entirely, but doing so would undermine the fundamental nature of the test that is this life. Allah explains in another verse, "The truth is from your Lord, so whoever wills may believe, and whoever wills may disbelieve." The power to choose is essential to moral responsibility. If belief were forced, there would be no meaning to faith or to disbelief. There would be no real virtue in choosing right or real blame in choosing wrong. The test of this world depends on the reality of choice. Allah continues this theme. We have made everything on earth an ornament for it, so that we might test them, to see who among them will do the best deeds. And indeed, we will make everything on earth barren dust. Everything beautiful, everything desirable, everything that attracts us in this world, wealth, beauty, status, comforts, has been given to us as a test. Will we be grateful? Will we use these blessings in obedience to Allah? Or will we become arrogant, thinking that our success is due to our own cleverness? Will we be stingy, refusing to help others? Will we use our resources to harm or to help? In another place, Allah says, "He is the one who created death and life to test which of you will do the best deeds. He is the mighty, the forgiving." The journey of life. The verse then says, "Whoever we grant a long life, we reverse in creation. Do they not understand what is happening to them?" This verse invites us to reflect on the journey of human life. We begin as helpless infants, utterly dependent on our mothers for every need. Through childhood and adolescence, we grow in strength and capability. We reach the prime of our adulthood, feeling strong and capable. But then, inevitably, the process reverses. An elderly person's physical capabilities diminish. The straight back bends. The white hair, once perhaps dark, falls out. The eyes that once saw clearly become dim. The ears that heard sharply become dull. The teeth fall out. The hands that once performed complex tasks become weak and trembling. The legs that once carried us swiftly become slow and unstable. The mind that once seemed sharp becomes forgetful. The heart weakens. The stomach struggles to digest food. This reversal is visible in every elderly person. We see it in our grandparents, and one day, if Allah wills, we will experience it ourselves. Yet despite witnessing this phenomenon constantly, we fail to draw the correct conclusion. If we would truly think about this reversal, we would realize several profound truths. First, we would recognize that an immense power is constantly at work in our bodies and lives, a power we cannot control or fully understand. Second, we would acknowledge our complete dependence on the one who created us. Third, we would realize that this life is temporary and limited. And fourth, we would understand that the Creator, who has complete power over our physical transformation, also has power over our resurrection. The verse ends with a question that carries deep meaning. Why do they not reflect on what is happening to them? Where did they come from, and where are they going? The Quran is not poetry. Allah then addresses an accusation that the disbelievers were making. "We did not teach the Prophet poetry, nor is it fitting for him. The book we gave him is a reminder and a clear message." The disbelievers were mocking the Prophet by calling him a poet, trying to dismiss the Quran as mere poetry, inspired by human imagination rather than divine revelation. Allah rejected this claim decisively. Poetry, by its nature, is based on imagination, emotion, and artistic expression. Poets create metaphors and images to evoke feelings in their audience. They may exaggerate for effect, employ unusual grammar for artistic purposes, and use language in ways that prioritize sound and rhythm over precision of meaning. The Quran is entirely different. It contains factual information about the universe, precise guidance for human conduct, laws and legislation, historical accounts, and descriptions of the unseen. Its language is precise, clear, and purposeful. While the Quran does contain vivid imagery and beautiful language, these serve the purpose of conveying truth more effectively, not for artistic effect. Furthermore, the Quran was revealed over 23 years, addressing different situations and challenges that arose. A poet could not maintain such consistency over such a long period, addressing issues that had not yet arisen, providing legal guidance, and maintaining thematic coherence. But more importantly, the Quran's consistency with scientific truth, its accurate historical accounts, and its provisions for human guidance in all times and places mark it as something far beyond poetry. Allah continues, "We sent it as a reminder for those with living hearts, those whose consciousness is awake and whose spiritual awareness is active. Those who fear Allah, even though they have never seen Him, will benefit from this reminder." The Quran serves as a warning and a call to remembrance. It speaks to those whose hearts are not dead with neglect and whose minds are not sealed by arrogance. Those who fear Allah, who respect Him and stand in awe of Him, even though they cannot see Him with their eyes, will recognize the truth of the Quran and benefit from its guidance. Darn the signs in livestock. Allah then points to another blessing. Do they not see how we have created for them with our own hands various types of livestock? They possess these animals fully, having complete dominion over them. Some they ride, and some they eat. From them they derive other benefits and beverages, such as milk and honey. Livestock have been among the greatest blessings to humanity. They provide transportation, food in the form of meat and dairy, clothing from wool and leather, fertilizer for crops, and many other benefits. In the harsh deserts and difficult terrain where the Arabs lived, livestock were not merely luxuries, but necessities of survival. A person with camels could travel across the desert, trade goods across long distances, and build wealth. Sheep and goats provided milk for nutrition and wool for clothing and shelter. Cows provided meat, milk, and leather for tools and weapons. Horses allowed for rapid travel and military advantage. These animals are naturally wild and untamed, yet Allah has made it possible for humans to domesticate them, to control them, and to benefit from them. This is a miracle of sorts, that the fierce camel or the powerful bull submits to the guidance of a human handler. Allah continues, "Will they not be grateful? Yet despite all these blessings, despite the clear evidence of Allah's mercy and power, they take other deities beside Allah. They think that these false gods will help them." This is the height of irrationality. People worship idols made of stone or wood, created by human hands, unable to help themselves or anyone else. They neglect the worship of the Creator, who has given them so many blessings and who sustains them every moment. The inability of false gods. The verse continues, "These false gods cannot help them in any way. In fact, these gods themselves need protection from their worshippers. The idolaters must clean them, place them carefully, and protect them from damage. How could such helpless things possibly help anyone?" There is profound irony in the situation. The worshippers serve their gods, protecting them and maintaining them. If a fly were to alight on an idol and lick honey placed on its surface, the idol could not brush away the fly. If a thief were to steal it, the idol could not cry out for help. If it were damaged or broken, it could not repair itself. Yet these same people believe that these powerless objects will somehow intercede for them with Allah and protect them from harm. The logic is obviously flawed, yet people persist in it because of tradition, cultural pressure, and the unwillingness to give up cherished beliefs. Allah concludes, "O Messenger, do not let their words sadden you. Do not be grieved by their mockery and rejection. We know what they conceal in their hearts and what they openly display. Your duty is to continue in your message with patience and determination." and bar the creation of humans and the question of resurrection. The surah then reaches one of its most central arguments. Does the human being not reflect on his own creation? We created him from a mere drop, a sperm drop, a single cell. Yet from this minuscule beginning, he became a clear opponent to us, arguing against us and denying us. This argument is among the strongest and most compelling. How could a person who began from a single microscopic cell that was invisible to the ancient peoples who received this message forget the miraculous nature of their own existence? How could they deny that the one who created them from nothing could recreate them after death? A person exists because of the union of a single sperm cell and a single egg cell. This united cell divides repeatedly, develops in unimaginable complexity, and eventually emerges as a fully formed human being. The detailed instructions for this entire process are contained in microscopic DNA molecules. Yet when asked if Allah can recreate these same humans after death, they say it is impossible. The logic is straightforward. If Allah created them from nothing, from a drop so small that it was invisible to them, then certainly He can recreate them from bones and dust. The second creation is not harder than the first creation. It is actually easier. The Quran records a specific incident illustrating this argument. Ubay ibn Khalaf, a disbeliever, came to the Prophet with a bone that had disintegrated into dust. He crumbled it further between his hands and said mockingly, "O Muhammad, do you claim that Allah will bring this back to life? It is impossible. You are crazy to suggest such a thing." In response, Allah revealed, "Say, the one who created it the first time will certainly bring it back to life. He has full knowledge of every type of creation." This simple response is complete and conclusive. The one who could create a human being from a sperm drop, who could create the universe from nothing, who created all the complexity and order we see around us, surely such a being can recreate a dead body. The miracle of fire from green wood. Allah presents another sign. It is He who brings forth fire for you from the green tree. When you rub its branches together, they produce fire, and from them you kindle your flames. This is referring to a botanical fact known to the Arabs of the Hijaz. The Arabs knew of certain trees, particularly the ma tree and the afar tree, which could produce fire when their branches were rubbed together. When the wood was fresh and green, it seemed impossible that fire could come from it. Yet when the branches were rubbed, sparks would appear. This is a parable for resurrection. Two things that seem opposite, green, wet wood and fire, are brought together by Allah's wisdom. In the same way, the living body and the dead remains seem completely opposite, yet Allah can bring them together again and restore life. The verse contains both a literal meaning and a scientific hint. Literally, it refers to the fact that the wood contained combustible oils and resins that would ignite when friction created sufficient heat. More broadly, it suggests the transformation of matter and energy. The profit fuel, petroleum and natural gas, comes from plants and animals that lived millions of years ago. These ancient living things transformed under pressure and heat into fossil fuels. From these transformed plant materials, humans extract fire and energy. So from dead plant material, energy is extracted. In the same way, from seemingly dead and decayed human remains, Allah can restore life and consciousness. The ultimate power and knowledge of Allah. The surah concludes with a powerful affirmation. The one who created the heavens and the earth is surely able to create humans again after their death. Yes, He can do this. He is the one who creates every single thing in perfection. He is the one who has complete and perfect knowledge of all things. The creation of the heavens and the earth, billions of galaxies, each containing billions of stars, all moving in perfect orbits, all obeying the laws of physics that Allah established, is the ultimate proof of Allah's power. The creation of life in all its complexity and diversity is another proof. If someone can accomplish these tasks, then resurrecting humans is not beyond them. When he intends something, he says to it be, and it comes into being. Glorified is the one in whose hand rests the dominion over all things. To him is your return. The phrase kun fayakun, be and it is, appears several times in the Quran. It describes Allah's unique method of creation. Allah does not need tools, materials, or time. He does not need to plan or prepare. He does not need to follow steps or wait for conditions to be right. He simply wills something and it comes into existence immediately and perfectly formed. This is unlike human creation, which involves research, materials, time, and effort. An artisan must gather wood or stone, plan the design, and carefully carve or shape the object over time. But Allah's creation is instantaneous. He says, be, and existence rushes forth to obey. On the Day of Judgment, in the same way, Allah will command the creation to transform. The heavens will be rolled up, the stars will fall, the mountains will crumble to dust, and then all of humanity will be raised from their graves. And again his command will be simple and absolute, return to me. At that word, every soul will rush forth from its grave and stand before the Almighty. Every person, from the first human to the last, will stand together in a vast assembly, awaiting judgment. There will be no escape, no hiding, no refusal. The command of Allah will be absolute. The final verse emphasizes absolute ownership. Glorified is he in whose hands rests the kingdom and dominion of all things. To him is the return of all things. He is the sovereign Lord of all creation. Everything belongs to Allah. Every atom, every being, every moment. We do not own our lives, we are granted them temporarily. We do not own our wealth, it is given to us as a trust. We do not own our strength or health, they come from Allah. And ultimately, we do not even own our own bodies or souls, they belong to Allah. This recognition of absolute divine ownership should transform our entire perspective on life. If everything belongs to Allah, then our use of resources should be guided by what Allah has commanded. Our treatment of others should be governed by the fact that they too are the creation of Allah and belong to Him. Our treatment of the earth should reflect the reality that it is Allah's creation, entrusted to us temporarily. And the final return, the return of all our deeds, all our achievements, all our failures, all our secrets, is to Allah. We will account for everything. Nothing will be hidden. No excuse will work. No relationship will help if the deed itself was wrong. Only the deeds done with sincere intention for the pleasure of Allah and in accordance with His guidance will stand the test of that great day. Conclusion. Surah Yaseen presents humanity with an undeniable case for the reality of Allah, the truth of the message brought by the Prophet Muhammad, and the certainty of the Day of Judgment. It appeals to reason, presenting logical arguments that cannot be refuted. It appeals to observation, pointing to the signs visible in creation every day. It appeals to the heart, telling the touching story of the believer from Antioch who remained faithful even unto death. The surah presents the fundamental principles of Islamic belief: Tawheed, the oneness of Allah; Nubuwah, the prophethood of Muhammad; and Akhirah, the resurrection and judgment in the afterlife. Every verse reinforces these themes, approaching them from different angles and using different forms of evidence. For the believer, Surah Yaseen is a source of confidence and certainty. When doubts arise, the clear arguments and signs presented in this surah reinforce faith. For those who are still seeking truth, the surah presents a rational path to belief. For those who have rejected, it provides a final warning before the inevitable judgment. The scholars have called this surah the heart of the Quran because it contains the essence of the Quranic message. To recite it with understanding, to reflect on its meanings, and to act on its guidance is to place oneself in alignment with the will of Allah and to prepare oneself for the eternal life to come. May Allah grant us the wisdom to understand this noble surah, the sincerity to act on its guidance, and the strength to remain steadfast in faith until we meet our Lord. May Allah gather us with the righteous in paradise, where we will enjoy the blessings prepared for those who believed and did righteous deeds. And may He protect us from the punishment of hell, which awaits those who reject the truth and persist in disobedience.